Welcome to Miss Row Classroom. Today we'll discuss the chapter Footprints Without Feet by H.G. Wells. Please like, subscribe and share the video. The story Footprints Without Feet by H.G. Wells tells of Griffin, a brilliant but lawless scientist who discovers how to make himself invisible. To escape his landlord, he sets fire to his house and roams the streets of London without clothes or money. He steals food and clothes from stores and disguises himself using theatrical costumes. Later, he hides in a village inn where his strange behavior arouses suspicion. Incidents of burglary and moving furniture increase villagers' fears. When exposed, Griffin uses his invisibility to escape. The story highlights the dangers of misusing science without ethics or responsibility. The story begins with a thrilling mystery when two boys spot fresh, muddy footprints on the steps of a house in London. More footprints appear one after another, even though no person is visible. These mysterious marks are actually made by Griffin, a scientist who has developed the ability to turn himself invisible. Griffin became visible whenever he wore clothes, shoes, or disguises. Otherwise, he remained invisible. Griffin, a brilliant scientist, makes a groundbreaking discovery: a way to render the human body transparent, yet solid like glass. However, he is also reckless and lawless. When his landlord tries to evict him, Griffin burns the house in revenge and escapes naked and invisible. Griffin misused his scientific discovery for arson, theft, and violence, proving he was indeed lawless. As a scientist, he was brilliant but irresponsible. A lack of ethics marred his genius. The story subtly points out the ethical responsibilities that accompany knowledge and power, prompting us to reflect on our own actions. Griffin, invisible and homeless, wanders the streets of London in the bitter cold. With no clothes or shelter, he suffers greatly. At one point, his invisibility is betrayed when muddy footprints expose his presence. He was wandering because he had set fire to his house, had no clothes, money, or shelter, and was completely exposed in midwinter. To escape the winter, Griffin sneaks into a large department store. At night, he helps himself to warm clothes, food, wine, and quilts. However, he oversleeps and is discovered the next morning. In panic, he removes his clothes and escapes, once again invisible but freezing. It shows how Griffin first became visible, only when he wore clothes from the store. Griffin raids a theatrical shop in Drury Lane to create a disguise. He covers himself with bandages, dark glasses, a false nose, bushy side whiskers, and a hat. Before leaving, he violently attacks the shopkeeper and robs him of money. Griffin's disguise reminds us of transparency in real life. Materials like glass or water appear clear because they allow light to pass through them. Scientists debate the possibility of true invisibility for humans, but authors like H.G. Wells either anticipated future science or took a fantastical approach to the concept of invisibility. Griffin arrives in the quiet village of Iping and books rooms at an inn. His strange appearance surprises the villagers. When Mrs. Hall, the landlady, tries to be friendly, he claims he needs solitude because of an accident that has affected his face. His irritability and secrecy make him suspicious. but his advance payment keeps Mrs. Hall satisfied. Mrs. Hall finds Griffin eccentric because of his odd appearance, his unsociable behavior, his temper, and his desire for solitude. Early in the morning, the clergyman and his wife hear noises in their study. They find the desk open and money missing, but no thief in sight. The robbery committed by the invisible Griffin puzzles and alarms them. The curious episode is the burglary in the clergyman's study, where money was stolen but no thief was visible. The Halls discover Griffin's room unlocked, with clothes and bandages lying about. Suddenly, Mrs. Hall hears a sniff. A hat flies at her face, and a chair pushes them out of the room. She believes the furniture is haunted, but in reality, Griffin, still invisible, caused the chaos. The extraordinary happenings were the moving hat and attacking chair, which Mrs. Hall thought were spirits, though they were Griffin's invisible mischief. Villagers suspect Griffin after hearing about the clergyman's robbery, mainly since he suddenly produces cash despite earlier claiming he had none. Gossip and suspicion spread quickly. Mrs. Hall confronts Griffin about the mysterious happenings. Enraged, he pulls off his bandages, spectacles, and false nose, shocking everyone by revealing that he is invisible, a headless man. Constable Jaffers arrives to arrest Griffin despite his bizarre condition. Griffin sheds his clothes one by one, turning completely invisible. The villagers try to help but are struck by unseen blows. Jaffers fights bravely but is knocked unconscious, and Griffin escapes once again. Becoming invisible might seem attractive. You could move unseen, overhear secrets, or escape danger. However, Griffin's story highlights the disadvantages of invisibility: cold, hunger, isolation, and the abuse of power. It's a stark reminder that power, when misused, can lead to dire consequences. On a side note, scientifically, invisible forces already surround us: magnetism, gravity, and electromagnetic radiation. If we could see them, the world would look utterly different. Let's move to the theme of the chapter. The central theme of the chapter is the misuse of science and the ethics of discovery. Griffin, though a brilliant scientist, misuses his invention of invisibility for selfish revenge, theft, and violence. The misuse of knowledge is a key theme in the story, highlighting the ethical responsibilities that come with power. It's a cautionary tale that reminds us of the potential consequences of using scientific advancements irresponsibly. His actions isolate him from society, causing people to turn against him. The villagers' fear and superstition highlight how society reacts when faced with unexplained phenomena. Griffin represents science without ethics, intelligence without morality. The story raises the larger question: should everything that is scientifically possible be pursued? It contrasts scientific genius with moral failure. The message is timeless. Without ethical boundaries, scientific progress can become destructive, echoing modern concerns about unchecked technology. Scientific progress without morality is dangerous. Griffin's invisibility could have been revolutionary, but his greed and lawlessness turn it into a curse. Power demands responsibility. Knowledge, if abused, can destroy both the individual and society. Truth always reveals itself. Despite his brilliance, Griffin is exposed and undone by his reckless actions. To summarize the explanation, Footprints Without Feet is not just a tale of invisibility, but a cautionary narrative about the dangers of brilliance without conscience. Griffin's journey shows how the misuse of scientific discovery can lead to isolation, fear, and destruction rather than progress. At the same time, the story compels us to reflect on the delicate balance between science and ethics, reminding us that knowledge is powerful only when guided by responsibility. In the end, Griffin's downfall becomes a timeless warning. Science without humanity can never truly serve humanity. We have finished explaining the Class 10 chapter, Footprints Without Feet by H.G. Wells. For more in-depth study, visit our reference website, misroclassroom.com, for exam-oriented summaries, literary devices, themes, character sketches, and extract-based questions for Class 10. In the next session, we'll analyze the chapter, The Making of a Scientist by Robert W. Peterson. If you enjoyed the content, ask questions, subscribe, like, and share the video. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Bye-bye.